In a recent video, I gave you my first impression of the new Biopen Q2. Since that video, many of you have asked to please give you an update on how I like this new pen. Also, quite a few of you have asked how this Biopen compares to other Dr. Pens, especially the M8S. So, in today's video, I'm hoping to answer both of these questions. I'm going to do a side-to-side comparison between the Q2 and the M8S, because while of course I've used both of these separately, I have never used them simultaneously. So it will be quite interesting to see how they compare. So I will medical microneedle one side of my face with the Q2 and the other side with the M8S. Now, of course, there are many other Dr. Pen models available. In fact, I have two more right in front of me. I have the A6S and I also have the M8. And these are just the four models I own. And there are other models available. And by the way, I don't need to own four different Dr. Pen models. So I would actually like to give away my M8. This is basically brand new. I have used this twice because again, I have other models and I only microneedle about every 4 to 6 weeks. So this is basically brand new. And I have a whole bag full of cartridges for it as well. So if any of you would like to receive the M8 with some cartridges, let me know in the comments and I will send this your way. But while it can be quite confusing because there are so many different Dr. Pen models available, when choosing a Dr. Pen, what we have to think about is what we want to achieve when microneedling. And another, by the way, if you are new to microneedling, in this particular video, I won't go into too much detail on what microneedling is, the different forms, and so on. However, I have a whole playlist on microneedling, which I will link down below. So again, if you're new to microneedling, please check out that playlist. And one more thing, I am not a microneedling expert. I am just sharing with you what works for me and what I have done for the last 16 years. But if you're interested in microneedling, please do your own research. Don't just do what I say. Always, always do your own research. Okay, back to the Dr. Pens. So what we have to think about when choosing a pen is what we're trying to achieve when microneedling. Whether that is cosmetic or medical microneedling. We want to create tiny little punctures or puncture wounds in the dermis to create a controlled injury. The body then heals this controlled injury through a cascade of reactions, which eventually lead to more collagen and elastin production. All of these pens will do that. All of them will create tiny little puncture wounds, even the most simple model. These pens vary in the way they are charged. Some of them have an extra battery. They have different cartridges. Some of them have updated cartridges, like the the M8S. I'm getting confused with all the different models. So some of them have updated cartridges. Some of them have added modalities, like the Q2. This also has LED and EMS electroporation. But all of these pens, even the most simple one, will create tiny little puncture wounds, which is what we are going for when microneedling. So let's get started. I just got out of the shower not too long ago, and I didn't even put anything on my face. I double cleansed my skin. My face is completely clean. And as always, that is very, very important when medical microneedling. I want to make sure I have nothing on my skin, no dirt, sweat, grime, sunscreen, none of that. Personally, I don't use numbing cream. However, there's nothing wrong with using numbing cream. But if I was to use numbing cream, I want to make sure to really wash it off well because I don't want to microneedle the numbing cream into my skin. Now, if you've been here for a little while, you know that I use a stamping technique, whether I cosmetic or medical microneedle. So since I use a stamping technique and I don't glide the pen around on my skin, I don't need to apply anything for slip. I could microneedle on bare skin. However, I like to apply growth factors or peptides in the hopes that they help facilitate even more collagen production. So I actually have a whole box full of products right in front of me, which I just got from LuxLipLab. LuxLipLab actually reached out to me and said, we noticed that your subscribers purchase quite a few of these products for microneedling. And would you like to put together a box for the month of September filled with some of your favorite products for microneedling? And I thought that sounded like a lot of fun. So I have my box right here, and I will show you what's in here. But this is a subscription box LuxLipLab comes out with every month. And every month they put in different products. And usually these boxes are worth $400 or $500, but they sell them for $200. So this particular box is worth $460, but it is $200, which is quite cool. It is a subscription, so once you sign up, you get a box every month, but you can cancel your subscription at any time or put it on hold. So I'll show you what's in here. There is some high molecular weight hyaluronic acid in here, in case you want to keep it simple. There are 2 DexoCell in here, which I love these guys. And several of you have asked me how to use these, so I will show you in today's video. But DexoCell is a multi-peptide serum that also contains copper peptides. And by the way, if you keep seeing a reflection in front of my face or in the background, right in front of my window is a street train that comes by every minute or so. There's nothing I can do about it. I hope it's not too annoying. Also, if you're wondering why my cheeks are really rosy, it is super hot in here and I can't turn on the fan because it's too loud. So that's where we are. Okay, there's also some human stem cell conditioned media in here. This is liquid gold. I love this stuff. This alone is, I believe, $145. We have some disinfectant spray, which is awesome. I usually always have alcohol on my desk so I can disinfect my hands or anything else, but I'm going to use this today. Then we also have 2 little boxes right here. I believe one is the Synattac I used. This is Bellafina. So this is some Centella asiatica. It's very calming. I've used this for cosmetic needling and it's beautiful. And then this should be the Synattac, which I used when I gave you my first impression on this. And this is a multi-peptide serum, which is beautiful. Now, actually, when I gave you my first impression on this, I also came back on camera the next day and I barely had any downtime, which never happens to me. I medical microneedled in that video at 1 millimeter depth, and usually I will be red for a couple of days afterwards, but I wasn't. So I speculated that it was because this also has LED and or the EMS electroporation. Well, I have since used this for medical and cosmetic needling, and each time I had quite a bit of downtime. So I actually think it was this that caused the lack of downtime. I'm not 100% sure. I will maybe use this next time because, like I said, today I want to show you how I use this. But I will use this next time when I medical microneedle, and I will keep you posted. And then lastly, we also have, this is the Sika Exo Aftercare Cream. This is a post-procedure cream, and it contains 61% Centella asiatica, so it is very soothing. Now, I don't apply this right after medical microneedling, but for the days to follow. So all of this is in this little drawer, and if you are on the subscription, every time you get one of these drawers, they actually stack up on top of each other, which is really fun. So if you're interested in getting one of these, I will put all the info down below. All right, let's get started. So like I said, I'm going to show you how to use one of these DexoCells. Let me put all of this stuff away and then I'll show you. All right, I also got my hair out of the way. That's important because I don't want to have hair all over the place when microneedling. I have a syringe, These syringes I purchased on Amazon solely for these purposes. So this is just a simple syringe. It is sterile. And when you have these kind of microneedling solutions that come in a vial, you do need a syringe. The Dexocel has two different vials. One is a powder, one is a liquid. And you can see the powder is, I hope you can see, it's kind of hard to show you, but I hope you can see that it is blue. So again, this does contain copper peptides, which gives it the blue color. So this is a powder. This right here is a liquid. We're going to open up the liquid. So you just pop off the top. You take your syringe. You pull it down so it creates a bit of air in here. You take the top off, stick that right in the middle here, push the air in, and what that does, you basically don't even have to pull it up. It just pulls up on its own, and the syringe is a little bit too small, so I have to do this in two separate tries. Same thing here. You pop open the top, and sometimes the whole thing comes off. In fact, in this case, that's a good thing because we are going to take this off in a second. But first, I'm just going to insert my needle. And again, I don't even have to do anything. It just pulls it in there. And then I'm going to take the rest. Now, if I had this is a 3 ml syringe. If I had a 5 ml syringe, I wouldn't have to do this in two tries, but that's okay. So again, I push some air in there, I pull the rest of the liquid out, I push it into this vial right here. Again, I don't even have to do anything, it just basically does it for me. And then I'm gonna recap this. I'm gonna shake this up well, and then it comes with a little top. Not sure what that is called, but we're going to take this off carefully. You can see we have a nice blue liquid right here, and we're going to pop this on top. And this way, we can now just apply that to our skin. Now, when these things don't come with a topper like this, I always have a sterile little bowl and a sterile brush, and then I just squirt it into the bowl, take my sterile brush and apply it. But this is super easy. So let's get started finally. I hope this video will not be forever long. Usually these microneedling videos, they end up being forever long, so I will try to speed this up a little bit. Now I have a 9-pin cartridge for my Biopen, and the least amount of pins in a cartridge for the M8S is, to my knowledge, 18. However, usually I always say the fewer needles, the deeper the penetration. Now that can be confusing because I obviously set the depth of penetration on the pen, but I always explain it this way: if you step on one nail with your bare foot, that nail is going to go right into your foot, right? If you step on a bed of nails, it might hurt, but those nails won't penetrate. So usually, rule of thumb, the fewer pins in a cartridge, the deeper the penetration, even though I set the depth of penetration on the pen. But surprisingly, the 18-pin, this pen is so sensitive. If I just accidentally slide over here, it turns on. That's one thing I don't like about this pen. But the last time I used the M8S with an 18-pin cartridge, I was surprised how, what's the word I'm looking for, how uncomfortable it was. They definitely penetrated. So I would say that even though this is a 9-pin cartridge and the M8S has an 18-pin cartridge, the depths of penetration will be quite comparable. I hope that makes sense. So this one right here, the cartridges look like this. And of course they're sterile. I just took this out of here. So I have my 9-pin cartridge on here. And one nice thing with the Q2 is when it is on, you can rest it on here and then it actually pauses. I'm going to pop my 18-pin cartridge onto the M8S. Here we go. Okay, I am going to use this disinfectant spray because I did just touch a whole bunch of stuff. Now, I do get the question often, why don't I wear gloves? To be honest, I think that wearing gloves on myself is a bit redundant because let's say I wear gloves and I touch things, right? Then those gloves get just as dirty as if I just touched them with my own hands. And I don't feel that I have good dexterity with gloves. So personally, I think wearing gloves on myself is a bit redundant. Now, if somebody else was to microneedle me, I would like them to wear gloves. But on myself, again, I don't think it's necessary. All right, let's get started. I'm going to apply my Dexocel onto, let's start on the left side, and I'm going to do the Q10. And I do have a mirror right here as always, so if I don't look at you, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I don't poke my eye out. Now I could apply this after I'm done needling. I like to apply a layer beforehand. So I needle it in and then I do another layer afterwards. All right, so I am going to go 1 millimeter deep with both of these pens because I want to see as far as the level of discomfort. I was just going to go 0.5. Now remember, medical microneedling does start at 0.5 millimeters. That is when these tiny needles are starting to enter into the dermis. But I want to see as far as discomfort, if I go 1 millimeter deep, I can't talk today, as far as discomfort when I go 1 millimeter deep, how do these compare? So I am going to dial this in at 1 millimeter. And the nice thing about the Q2 is that they did make those numbers a bit bigger and they are easier to read. Versus to dial this one in, I'm going to have to put on my glasses. I'm going to play around with it. I'm going to right now put it on LED. So again, this has two other modalities. It does have LED, blue, as well as red LED. And it does have EMS electroporation. So I'm going to put it on a level 1 for the EMS electroporation and see how that goes. Last time when I gave you my first impression, I had it on the highest level for the EMS electroporation and it wasn't that comfortable. So let's see how that goes. So as always, I like to start at my jawline and I just place the pen and I don't apply a lot of pressure. I apply about as much pressure as if I put a pen to paper. And then I see where I was just at and I put the pen, again, like I said, I have a mirror right here, and I put the pen right next to it. So I don't overlap or barely overlap, but I want to cover the whole area. Now again, remember, I'm just sharing with you what works for me. This is what I do. Please do your own research. Always do your own research. This is actually not uncomfortable at all. So I'm 1 millimeter. I'm going, again, I can't talk today, I'm sorry. I'm going 1 millimeter deep. I don't know if you have those days where just everything comes out of your mouth kind of mumbled up. I'm dealing with one of those days today, but hopefully you can understand me. And like I said, I'm just going back and forth, but I'm going 1 millimeter deep. I have the LED on red and the EMS on the lowest setting. And at the lowest setting with the EMS, I wouldn't call this painful, not really even uncomfortable. And unlike last time when I had the EMS electroporation at the highest setting and my face was twitching like crazy, I barely feel it. I just felt a tiny twitch, but you can see that my muscles aren't jumping around. So I think that this is a much better level to have it on. I did want it to be on the highest level last time because I wanted to see what happens. So like I said, many of you have asked me how I feel about this pen, and I am not 100% sure yet, and I think this video will help me decide how I feel about it. I do feel that, again, right now this is not even uncomfortable. I'm going 1 millimeter deep. It'll be interesting to see how uncomfortable it is with the M8S. This is the third time now that I'm medical microneedling with this pen. The first time was when I gave you my first impression. I did it again 5 weeks later. And then I have also now 3 times cosmetic needled with this pen. Now often, to be honest, for cosmetic needling, I just use a doctor's stamp. I just find it easier. But I wanted to really try this pen and see how I feel about it. And strangely enough, each time when I have cosmetic needled with this, even though I only go 0.25 millimeters deep, I had quite a bit of downtime, which is really strange. I was red for 2 days afterwards, each time. I got some dryness and roughness, almost as if I had medical microneedled, so gone deeper. I have not had that sort of downtime or that sort of experience with any of the other doctor pens when using them for cosmetic needling. So I am just going to my orbital bone. I will go under my eyes as always, but I will do that separately. So I have covered this area, I think, pretty well horizontally. I am actually going to rest this now and go horizontally with the M8S, and we'll see what happens. So again, I'm going to apply my Dexacel, and this is very liquidy, the Dexacel. It feels like water almost. So even if I wasn't stamping, if I was sliding the pen, I probably wouldn't use this because I don't feel this would give enough slip. I would maybe apply this below, then use some high molecular weight hyaluronic acid, such as this right here, and that would give enough slip. And then I could apply this again afterwards. But again, I haven't really done anything but the stamping technique now for over a year. I feel personally that it's safer. I feel it gives me better results. It's a bit tedious. It does take longer because I am sitting there going like this rather than sliding. But I do this every 4 to 6 weeks. So taking a bit extra time to ensure that I have a safe treatment is worth it to me. I just want to make sure that I don't create any micro tears. And it just seems to me when sliding the pen over the skin that there could be a risk of micro tears. This is just my own opinion. I just find it safer to just stamp. All right, I'm going to dial this in. All right, we have it at 1 millimeter. I am going to turn it on at a medium speed, just like the Q2. All right, same thing. I'm going to start here. Ooh, that is definitely just like I remember. A tiny bit more uncomfortable, which is so interesting because again, I am using an 18-pin cartridge versus a 9-pin cartridge. So theoretically, you would think that the 9-pin cartridge would be a tiny bit more uncomfortable. On a scale from 1 to 10, as far as discomfort, again, I'm going I cannot talk. I'm going 1 millimeter deep on each side. So as far, I'm actually going to put the mirror over here. As far as discomfort, on a scale from 1 to 10, I would say this right now, let me see, is maybe a 6. Now, of course, everybody has a different pain tolerance. To me right now, this feels maybe like a 6. Versus the Q2, at the very most, felt like a 2. So that's interesting. I'm going the same depth. I'm doing the same technique. And this one definitely feels a bit more uncomfortable. So again, I'm just going to my orbital bone. And then I'm going to turn this off for now. And we'll go back to the Q2. But you can see as far as erythema, so redness, I missed the little spot right here. It's challenging when I'm talking to you to really cover everything evenly. I'll go back and go over that. So because I don't have erythema here, you can see I missed a little spot. But as far as erythema, I would say that I have more right now on the right side where I use the M8S than on the left side. So let me cover those few spots that I neglected to cover before, and then I'm going to go vertically. So again, one thing I like about this is that even though it is on right now, when I rest it on here, it pauses. I think that's nice because I do put them, regardless of which pen I use, I do put them down in between quite often, and the M8S I had to turn off. Just a tiny minor detail, but I do like that they actually did that. So I have that spot covered now that was not covered before, and I have a little bit of a white spot here still, but I think we're pretty good. All right, now I'm going to go vertically. And same thing happened last time. So as I get closer to my nose, because I do have the EMS electroporation on, it's actually not painful, but you can see my eyes want to tear a little bit. It is a little bit more sensitive because of the electroporation. But strangely, just here, as I get closer to my nose, as I move away from the nose, again, I barely find this to be uncomfortable. So I would still say, on a scale from 1 to 10, as far as discomfort, this is a 2 right now. I've covered the whole area. I have some nice erythema. Now, some of you have asked me, why do I only go horizontally and vertically and not also diagonally? Again, please remember, I'm just sharing with you what I do and what works for me. Personally, I feel that that is plenty of trauma to the skin. Again, I am trying to create a controlled injury. I don't want to create too much inflammation. And in my opinion, now also going diagonally, that's a bit much. So that's why I don't. All right, we're going to turn this guy back on. I'm actually not looking forward to it because since I've already covered this area, this is going to be probably a bit more uncomfortable. But let's see quickly as far as pinpoint bleeding. I have a tiny bit of pinpoint bleeding on this side. Now, pinpoint bleeding is not necessary to get good results. I just wanted to show you how much I got. Okay, still, I would say on a scale from 1 to 10, this is about a 6. Now, one could say, okay, this is more uncomfortable, so maybe it will give you a better result. I don't know if that's necessarily true. The 2 times I have medical microneedled with the Q2, I've gotten great results. Well, results is hard to say, right? Because obviously what we're going for is collagen production that takes time to see. So I can't say that I've gotten the same results because I am maybe just now seeing the collagen production from using the Q2 because I've only had it for about 8 weeks or 9 weeks. But I would say I had the same downtime and healing process. So my skin got dry, it flaked, I even got a tiny bit of peeling, just like using any of the other Dr. pens. So that would make me think that eventually that would lead to the same results. But that's of course hard to say. And we won't know in today's video if this gives me the same collagen production as the Q2. For that, we would, in a few weeks, probably have to do a punch biopsy to really know. But really all we're trying to figure out today is how do they compare as far as ease of use, as far as discomfort. Ease of use, I would say same. As far as discomfort, the Q2 is winning. This is definitely more uncomfortable. The real test will be around the mouth. All right. So you can see the M8S is giving me, again, a tiny bit more erythema at this point, but also a tiny bit more pinpoint bleeding. Now again, pinpoint bleeding is not necessary to have good results. It's just giving me a tiny bit more, but really not that much. Like I said, the real test will be doing this around the mouth. But I want to apply a little bit more of this right now while I have these open channels, so this can really absorb. Now we don't quite know how long these tiny little puncture wounds we just created, right? These open channels, how long they stay open. I have read conflicting studies on that as far as the time they stay open. But right now, right afterwards, we know they are open, which is why we have to be so careful about what we apply afterwards. We don't want to apply anything that shouldn't penetrate that deeply, right? Okay, now is the real test. Actually, let me put a little bit of this around my lips. All right, and this is going to be the real test around the mouth. Okay. This is so interesting. Again, while I would say this is a bit higher than a 2 as far as discomfort, it's not bad at all for going around the mouth. This is quite interesting. I don't know if it is the way the cartridge is shaped or why it is not as painful as it normally is. Now obviously I only have about an inch surface right here, so what I do usually when I don't talk to you and actually pay attention is that I just go a few times horizontally and then a few times vertically. Okay, I'm going to do the chin as well. Now you can see I don't go on my lips. I go very close to the vermilion border, but not on my lips. All right, let's do the other side. Turn this guy back on. Okay, I'm not looking forward to this one. Let's see. Not too bad, but definitely more painful. So again, I would say still a 6 or 7 as far as discomfort with this one. Okay, we're going to do the chin. All right. As far as erythema, probably the same. As far as pinpoint bleeding, I would say about the same. Maybe again a tiny bit more with the M8S. All right, forehead. So far, again, as far as discomfort, I would say the Q2 definitely wins. Now, the Q2 is quite a bit more expensive. And if all you're interested in is microneedling, if you're not interested in LED and electroporation, then I would say just go with the M8S or any of the other ones. Again, all of these do the same thing. Oh, I almost forgot. I am going to actually turn this down to 0.5 for my forehead because I don't like to go that deep on my forehead. All there is skin and bone. I don't feel the need to go 1 millimeter deep. The reason I go a bit deeper on my cheeks is because I do find it a bit harder. Make sure the electroporation isn't too high because I can't feel the twitch here. I do find it a bit harder at 0.5 to get into the more hollow or even the more fleshy areas. Versus where there is just skin and bone, 0.5 for me personally is plenty. So the forehead, aside from around the lips, is my other least favorite part. But again, this is not bad at all. Even with the electroporation, which I have still on a level 1, it's not bad at all. But yeah, it just depends. Again, what are you looking for? If you're just wanting to microneedle, any of these doctor pens will do the trick. Now personally, I would probably go with the newest model if I could afford it because it is the most updated. It will have updated features such as the M8S has updated cartridges. I also like, I'm actually done with this side already. I also like with the M8S that it can be charged with my iPhone charger, so I don't have to look for a charger, versus the M8 I can't tell you how many times I've looked for this charger. I have it, and again, if one of you wants this, of course I will send the charger as well. But I do like that this can just be charged with a iPhone charger, and I don't have to look for a charger. This one, however, the Q2 does have its own charger. But if I could afford it, I would probably go with an updated model for these sort of reasons, for it being able to be charged with a iPhone charger. Again, I'm not looking forward to that one that much. Oh yeah, that is definitely a bit more bitey. It having updated cartridges. But if money was tight, I would just, there's definitely more. Oh wait, I didn't turn down the depth, that's why. I'm talking too much. Okay, 0.5, that's gonna make a difference. Oh yeah, that makes a big difference. Though, still, you can tell my nose is starting to run. Still more uncomfortable than the Q2, but much better than being at 1 millimeter. So if money was tight, I would just go with the simpler model, because again, all of these do the same thing. They, if used correctly, create tiny little puncture wounds, which will create a controlled injury, hopefully, if we do it correctly. And that controlled injury, once the body heals it, will lead to more collagen and elastin production. So again, I do find this one to be a tiny bit more uncomfortable. At 0.5, the difference isn't quite that big. I would say right now, this is maybe, sorry, my nose is running. This is maybe a discomfort of 4. So at 0.5, the difference isn't quite that big, but it is still a bit more uncomfortable than the Q2. All right, forehead is done. Let me turn this off. Let's take a look. I would say that's pretty even as far as erythema and pinpoint bleeding. Now, lastly, I'm going to do under my eyes. I will do my neck as well, but I will do that off camera. Otherwise, this video is going to be forever long. So I'm going to spritz my fingers because I am going to touch my face. And because I have some open channels right now, talking about open channels, I do want to apply some of this. Because I have some open channels right now, I want to make sure that I have nothing on my fingers, no bacteria or anything that could possibly go into those open channels. So let me do this again. And I am going to actually turn my pen on 0.25 for this. So under the eyes, personally, I don't like to go deeper than 0.25. The skin under our eyes is so delicate, and I just don't want to take the risk of creating any sort of damage there. I'm going to take my 2 fingers, pull the skin down gently just so I can get a bit closer to my lash line. Again, I'm going to look in the mirror so I don't poke my eye out. And get a bit closer to my lash line without actually going past the orbital bone. And there is not that much room right here to go vertically, so all I'm doing is just a few passes horizontally. There we go. You can see the erythema is a little bit closer to my lash line now, but I didn't actually go past the orbital bone because I did pull that skin down gently. Putting this at 0.25, and again, this is so hard to read on this pen. So that is definitely something they improved on the Q2, is that it is easier to read. But I am at a 0.25. And here too, I do find this just, so this is not uncomfortable because I'm just going 0.25. But what makes this a bit more, I don't want to say intense because that's too much of a word. But what makes this a bit more noticeable is that this pen seems to vibrate a bit more. Again, it's not pain or anything, it just feels it's a bit more noticeable. That's the only word I can come up with than the Q2. And again, I'm just doing a few passes horizontally very careful, and that's it. All right, that is my whole face covered. As I mentioned, I will also do my neck, but I will do that off camera, otherwise we will be here for another half hour or so. But I hope this video was helpful. If I had to personally decide right now between these two pens, it would come down to my budget, of course, and then how likely am I to actually use all these other modalities? How likely am I to use the EMS electroporation? How likely am I to use the LED? I already have LED devices, so I don't necessarily have to have LED on my pen. It's nice to have, but I could just, after microneedling, stand in front of my panel. So for me personally, it would be, how important is it to have the EMS electroporation? I haven't used this enough to tell you that it is important and it makes a difference, and I honestly don't know how to tell. But if you're somebody who likes to have different modalities, this is fun to have, and it is, like I said, a bit less uncomfortable to use than the M8S, which I didn't know before doing this little experiment. So it comes down to budget. Are you going to use these extra modalities? As far as results, I would say that I will get these same results using either of these or really any of these. So I hope this video was helpful. Any questions or comments, please leave them down below. You know, always love to hear from you. I would love to know, do you microneedle? If so, what device do you use? Have you tried this new pen? And if so, again, this is so sensitive. I just barely touched it and it turns on. That is one of the few things I don't like about this. But have you tried this new pen? And if so, what is your experience with it? Please share down below. I think it will help others to learn about your experience. Also, if you want to get this Claudia's favorite box, like I said, I will put all the info down below in the info box. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, bye.